conference. It's the longest running, continuously running podcast conference out there, Podfest.
Out there, meaning worldwide or
As far as I
United
know,
States?
as far as I know, it's worldwide. I don't know that. I'm sure there's podcasting conferences in other countries as well. And Podfest itself does have a presence, at least in Asia. They maybe have something going on in Europe.
Yay. Well, we were talking about the differences between a convention, a conference, a festival, and they do call it Podfest. I guess I feel like a festival, you get to walk around and see what other people are doing. Do they have vendor tables? Do you get a chance to just walk up somewhere and go, why do you have these items out? Do you know if it's that
My
way?
first time at the live conference. I've been to the
Oh,
online version, but I imagine that it's going to be similar to other ones where they have vendors there, because that's how conferences like this get supported, right? It's through
yes.
vendor support sponsorships, and as a
Mhm.
part of that, you get to put up your table, spend more money, and you get a bigger spot.
You and I have gone to twice the Texas Library Association convention.
Yeah, I would say it's a conference.
Yeah, they have big time nationally recognized speakers. They have breakout sessions. They have lots of vendor tables. They have authors who either have a pile of books you can buy or a pile of books that they're giving away as a publication blitz, I guess, etc. And when the people come in, they're kind of berserk, like they've been waiting outside the door so they don't have to be so far back in the line because they're just trying to grab as many free books, etc. A lot of them are school librarians, and that brings a different energy to the room as opposed to someone who's more over a general public library. And I filmed that. I took a video of that. So speaking of video, you said Podfest, which is coming up next month, January,
Mm-hmm.
in Florida. And I believe that you've coached me that when people say, what is it that you do? What is your YouTube thing? People have clicked on YouTube to, like me, find someone doing something that I don't know how to do and I want to learn. But you coached me to say that I have a video podcast. And I think that helps people think, like a radio show that you can see. So I end up just calling it a show. But what is particularly taking you to Florida for the first time attending in person?
Yeah, so I get to speak about being I'll say adding radio as a distribution channel to your podcast. So traditionally, podcasting is audio only, although it's the video has taken on a big portion of it. And in fact, a lot of the speakers there are talking about video and how to do that. And the studio setups are very elaborate for these, just like they would with sitcoms, 3 cameras and everything staged and lit for the video side of it. But traditionally, podcasting was the democratization of audio communication. So in the old days, to be on radio, you had to be on radio. And that's how people consumed that content. They got in their car and they tuned it in, or maybe they sat at home, but probably a lot of people, it's in the car. You're in the car, I tune on the radio, it's free. But now with streaming services, a lot of content is on demand. So the big production people that have been in radio, NPR or ABC or whatever, are all doing audio versions of or on-demand versions of their audio. And now they're adding video to that as well. But anyway,
I've seen podcasts that are audio podcasts, and I mean I've seen an audio podcast where, like you said, more than one camera, somebody is in production, switching things back and forth when it seems appropriate, and the podcasting studio looks for all the world what we would think of as a radio. It's maybe got a window in the background, different, lots of chords, just lots of chords. And, you see the whole boom. So I've got my boom, prominently out here today. And it is all blending together. You said democratization, I believe. Does that mean that I don't have to listen to just what is on my radio? I can listen to something that was dropped or made public a while back. I can tune into my favorite podcaster. What do you mean by democratization?
so realistically, again, it was to broadcast a show, a message, whatever it was, whatever you wanted to share, you had to be on a radio station. And there's a limited number of those. And there's a limited number of hours that
Yeah.
that are available. And so you would have to be lucky to just say, I want to do this. But we can think back to the cable access channels where
Oh,
where a local city council could be broadcast and people could tune in and they could see their council in action. And maybe there was an interactive part, but for the most part, they were just going to watch that.
yeah.
Well, that's what happened when cable came on. And so instead of broadcasting over the airwaves, which again are limited, the frequencies are limited, they're owned by the government, the FCC controls that, Federal Communications Commission. They regulate those frequencies, so you could only have so many. But when cable came in, now you can go into people's house without going over the airwaves. So different regulations, so many more channels. Well, they have to populate that channel with some sort of content. Streaming a 4-hour city council is a way to do that.
It is one way. You in Florida, you will actually speak to a room full of people about radio, podcast. I think the easiest way that I tell people when I'm looking for someone to sponsor your radio show, the best way that I have to simply explain it to a person who I have no idea if they listen to podcasts. I know everyone knows what radio is. They still sell cars with radios. So somebody's got a radio somewhere, but podcast is just a lot of people who are contributors to magazines also have a podcast, and it's on the topic that they have specialized in or they've become an expert or have expertise and experience in. Best way that I say is that first people can listen at 8:30 on Saturday morning Central Time in our locale around Waco, Texas. And then after that, it is a podcast that is available on demand and comes with the sponsors on screen. So people are seeing and hearing because
it's not a video podcast. So
it's not video.
There's nothing to see. So the sponsors are not on screen. It's just audio.
Right. But we hear about them from you.
Yeah. But you're not watching the sponsors on screen.
I should say you see a representation of them. You see their branding when you go to grab that podcast. Go
It's
ahead.
just the Waco Experience logo is all you see if you're listening to it on a podcast player. There is no video that goes with it, so there's no.
True. But if I go on my computer, then I see some brand logos. No, I'm going to have to check that out again, because I am sure that I have seen those logos on your website. On your website?
I do sponsorships. And so I do digital advertising where I create a video that has a picture of the Alico building and then text overlay. But that's just a 30-second commercial on YouTube that then push out as a digital ad, but it's not the podcast.
Oh, wow. So this is an example of Scott and I. We are past our 41 years of marriage. So that would be 43 years since I used the word devoted. I became devoted to him. He became devoted to me earlier. I had crossed him off my list because he was going into the Air Force. He's going to see the world and lots of women. So I knew I was going to be forgotten back in the state of Oregon. I knew I'd be forgotten. He had decided he wasn't going to forget me. But through time and letters and a few visits on leave, I got to the point where I was totally devoted to him. So I would say 42 and a half, 43, probably at this point, years of us being devoted to each other. And I'm saying, but I'm sure. And he says, no, it's this way. And I'm like, how do I word this so that he will tell me, you're right? Because I like to be told I'm right. And he nods wearily. Yep, that's the way it goes. Well, I popped a few things into the comments, and I like to start the show just talking with my guest. But this time, I am the guest. So I gave my husband the one thing that he knew best to something that he knew best about, because it does relate to what I've been doing for over 3 years now, each week. And that is coming on screen on topics of aging, caring, and longevity. To me, aging is one thing because society says aging. That's the one thing you don't want to show, you don't want to think about, and you certainly don't want to be relegated to a slot that says, yeah, but they're really aging, because it squishes down your cred somehow. When people go, well, they're aging. Caring, people should care. Caring's good. If you say, I don't care, then maybe you're a bit jaded, or maybe you're just saying it's not going to impact me, but caring about a person who is impacted by challenges that are more prevalent, more typical in aging. And then for me, there's this glowy word called longevity. And so far, no one has said, well, I'm hoping to just go downhill if I'm going to live for a long time. I'm really hoping that I'll be covered with dust, completely out of touch with other human beings, let alone those technological things people are always trying to keep up on. So far, people go, yeah, how about healthy longevity? How about contributing to society? How about doing something that when I was younger, I was always too busy to do in my longevity? Feels like 71. It's like, oh, wow, I still have my own agency, meaning I am living life on my terms, not someone else is picking me up and moving me to my bed for me? What do I want to do? And that doesn't disclude someone who has mobility issues. Not at all. But I think that's what people think about active aging. They think, oh, yes, I still am in charge of my own arms and legs and driving. And, I can, hop over something if it's in my way because I still have muscle tone, etc. So all those things have come into play as I have invited guests, mostly off of LinkedIn, but some people just face to face that I meet around town. Used to live in Oregon. We lived our entire adult lives in Oregon. And then in the last 15 months, Waco, Texas. And it was thrilling for me to have one organization, one business, attorneys that do elder law actually reach out to me when I had, to my knowledge, I had not jumped up and down and said, look at me, you could be on my show, which is called Aspects of Aging. And that was pretty exciting. But there's all these other things that have happened as I have tried to approach Aspects of Aging and my website, agingbetternetwork.com, from more of a business angle, thinking, what do people do when they want to be successful, when they want to be known by others, when they want to provide something that is a felt need, that provides a value for someone who has a pain point or sees that there's something missing in their lives, in their loved ones' lives, in their community that's trying to be more welcoming to people of all ages. So I just put a few things in the comments here to remind me what I wanted to talk about. So Scott, I'm going to turn over to you. You've got 5 or 6 of them to choose from. Is there one that you'd like for me to respond to now?
Came to Waco. It was as a tourist. You came here as a tourist. We came here specifically for the eclipse, because the eclipse in 2024, April 8th, went through Texas. And it also happened to come through Waco. And so we came here because of Fixer Upper.
Right.
The whole Magnolia thing. And so we watched that. But it wasn't, we didn't come here looking for a place to live. But during the 18-day traveling around Texas, it came up and we decided to move to Texas. But we came back in June to say, well, what if it's vacation euphoria? Because everyone wants to live in Hawaii when all you do is spend money and lay on the beach. So we came back in June, and then we were invited to a networking group meeting. And that's really where a lot of your involvement with Waco started.
Yes. We came to Texas because we were invited by people that have been guests on our screen. And we made sure that we also visited some other people, let them know we were in Texas. So we were all over the place, as far north as Dallas, as far south as Corpus Christi, Houston, even going to the Johnson Space Center. And we went to Austin, spent several days in San Antonio, that conference that I talked about, the Texas Library Association, that was the first one. But Waco happened to be the one city whose name I already knew that was literally on the path of totality. And when we looked up in the sky, there was bluishness off to one side and bluishness off to the other side because we were not in a deep valley, so we could see outward quite a distance. But it was super dark over us. And the first thing that I think showed up were planets. And we were surrounded by people who generally were not Wacoans. In fact, not even Texans. People had come to the silos specifically to experience the eclipse. And they were from all over the United States. I'm trying, everyone was just talking to everyone. It was a different energy that day, before and after. I remember a gentleman saying to me after the whole thing was done, no one was looking up anymore because, what you could view was barely visible anymore. And he said, look at the whole sky. And I said, look at what? He goes, where are the clouds? And I went, oh my goodness, there's no cloud anywhere. He said, yes, the temperature drop and rise again has vaporized all of the clouds. And what happened later that day, because that was morning, it was, I don't know, 10 in the morning somewhere, somehow around 10 a.m. By the evening, buckets of rain were pouring on our rented car. The clouds found their way back. And it was an experience. But why would you move there? I don't know how many centuries until the next eclipse goes through Waco. And so why? And that's what we kept asking each other. So coming back, we sneaked back in June. That was April. Sneaked back in June because we just wouldn't stop talking about Waco. And we had done things like, if they found nose prints on the window, it was the Greater Waco Chamber of Commerce. We were just looking in the building. They were closed that whole Monday. At least when we looked there, they were locked up. And a person said, you ought to go, this is June now, you ought to go to this business gathering, a BNI, and just let them know that I sent you, but I don't go there anymore. And I'm not going there tomorrow, but you should go. And we did, because I was walking around with my eyes wide open. And I love to say there was a lady bringing in coffee and kolaches. I helped her. There was a point at which during the business networking meeting that you stood up and you had 45 seconds or else the alarm was going to go off to say what you're about. As a former caregiver in almost 100 different homes hired to come in when they needed extra help, I decided that I would bring resources to a video podcast, and I've been hosting it for a few years every week. Sat down, said my, call letters, things, aging better, network, etc. Well, that coffee and kolaches lady walked by later in the meeting and she pointed to me and she says, you come visit me. And then she walked to the front to give the keynote presentation. And that's when I heard, in the last 35 years, this is what God has done. I was in a hospital. A lady was crying out. She said, I'm old. Nobody is visiting me. Nobody cares about me. I don't want to die alone. And it started the beginning of a huge endeavor to find people who were willing to be that person who shows up for a drive to an appointment to drop off a few fresh vegetables midweek, to change light bulbs that can't be reached or that person really shouldn't be up on the ladder, to provide phone calls and visits just to say hi, those things that family would do if they could. And it has spread and it has become much larger, having to do with guardianship, financial exploitation, et cetera, et cetera. My job is the first one, or I should say, what I chose to volunteer to do was to drive people to their appointments or to the grocery store. And if they would rather be quiet, that's fine. If they would love to talk to someone who's new to Waco and give me advice on what used to be over there, etc. But these people would be homebound if it weren't for volunteer drives and visits, etc. Whether temporarily because of a physical challenge or whether they've been this way for years and will continue. So that's what happened. Her name is Inez Russell, and the group is called Friends for Life. And right here, I've got the badge that I was given. Not exciting to the untrained eye. However, that badge has precipitated a lot of conversations. Everything from, what is that? And then guesses as to Friends for Life, to, oh, you took care of a loved one of mine. I'm forever grateful. And I didn't take care of that person, but they associate me with the things that went right for that person during the time of their life that they would benefit from someone dropping by saying happy birthday with a beautifully decorated bag and some gifts inside that were specially selected for that person because they are one of the clients of this agency. So I would say that everything except guardianship and the day programs for any age adult with disabilities, particularly cognitive, are offered free of charge. And the others, of course, have their ways of being compensated for that full-time job. But we get to volunteer as much as we want and as little as we want. And we get to stop and we get to start again. And if we're not comfortable with something, we just let them know. And there's something different that we can do to volunteer to help out. And sometimes that involves going into businesses or contacting people and asking them for something specific that would help with fundraising or with honoring someone with, some sort of a party or something like that, which I have no problem if I see the good that's going to come from a situation. I have no problem walking in cold turkey, introducing myself, and asking for free stuff because it's for a good cause. And I get to find so many people who really want to be generous and they want to know more about what does Friends for Life do.
And so, just as soon as we moved here in September last year, you got involved with Friends for Life as a volunteer. And then there was the Fox television affiliate.
Yes.
Has a promotion that they do every year to recognize remarkable women, people who are making an impact in the community, not just in nonprofits, but in other areas, including for-profit businesses.
Yes.
And they said nominations are open. And so you clicked on their code and filled out a nomination for Inez Russell, the founder and executive director at Friends for Life. And that was just, I could say, weeks into living in Waco. And
Yes.
it just really affected a lot of what's happened to you all in 2025. So tell us about what happened with that nomination.
She has been working on this for 35 years. And I tell you, start to finish, I spent about 35 minutes. And then I promptly forgot about the whole thing. I remember being inside of a bank that was already decorated for Christmas. And I thought, woo, it's not even Christmas yet. So I believe that I zeroed in on that information when it was announced at another business networking opportunity that we heard about through the Greater Waco Chamber of Commerce. I believe that's when I really zeroed in on it. And I thought, yes, I do know someone. I mean, remarks are words. You have something to say about it. And here I was already talking about her to other people, or talking about her with other people who already knew her and had already been a volunteer, whatever it was. And I thought, oh, yes, she is truly remarkable because people keep talking about her. Hers is the face and the voice that, rather than launches 1,000 ships, she launches 1,000 volunteers several times over each year. So I just wrote what I already knew about her, what people had asked me about. And I also mentioned that it was true. I wanted to move with you to Waco, but I needed a reason. And she became my reason that I move here. And I got kind of a tour, not of parts of the building, but I got a tour of everything that they do. And I knew where I could plug in with my skills and talents and my heart. I have no problem having a complete stranger get in my car and off we go. I guess I could be an Uber driver, but and off we go, and knowing that I need to adjust how I am to how they need things to be today. And so I wrote down why and how she had influenced my life at this point, how she was leading me into a different kind of leadership, which I believe has developed into, number one, giving other people an opportunity to be generous with their time as a volunteer, with their services that they have through their business, with their gift of encouragement, stuffing bags with Christmas presents that will be hand delivered, etc. And I hit send, forgot about it, received a phone call. I shrieked on the phone when I heard your nomination was voted number one, and she is now, right this moment, the remarkable woman for Central Texas, along with 124 other women under the giant Nexstar Media umbrella that stretches coast to coast. I won't do it right now, but what we went through to get her to a moment where she was surprised on camera with the fact that she had been nominated for something that I think that was only the fourth year that it was happening around here. I think she's number 4. And now they're working on number 5 or number 6. I can't remember if it started in 2020 or 2021. A lot of things started in 2021 when people were looking for encouragement and good news. So perhaps she was the 4th and this will be the 5th.
And so that nomination led to a lot of activity during 2025.
Yes. So signing a non-disclosure agreement, influencing, forcing people who hardly know me to trust me that something good was coming down the pike. Please sign these NDAs so that I can tell you about it. Well, who knew? What kind of a scam artist am I anyway? And so I won over one person who, once they had read it, said to the other people that they knew for years, it's okay. We're all working together to bring this information forward. Well, when I boldly, I don't know where the lines are. I don't know where my barriers are. I just stomp all over everything. When I boldly talk to a person in leadership, they've got the office and the glitz and glam and many people coming and going and lots of leadership programs going on for every age and every stage of people. And I said, oh, I wish that we could give her a ticker tape parade. She said 2 things to me. Number 1, she goes, please write another nomination because I do a leadership of women leading women contest, acknowledgement. And I really think that she, with everything you're telling me, ought to be nominated. And number 2, if you put together a parade entry, which is our university homecoming parade, that is a 1-hour parade through town and through campus. Believe me, it was a big deal. They had portable stands up on each side. If you involve the local TV station that announces this, for us, it's Fox 44, but Fox, across the states, I know there's a Fox Channel 2 in San Francisco. If you put that together, I want to reach out and help in some way. So here was a person that didn't need to listen to someone who's, I don't know, new or has ideas, but who knows if I can put together a parade entry. And for that person, it was just a blast of encouragement, and you can do it and you should do it. And this is all part of it. Then someone else made the decision that Friends for Life, as represented by Inez Russell, should also be a charity champion as part of the local university, Baylor University. Should also happen this year. So this is all happening in 2025. And a person that occupies an office there. I am pure volunteer. I hardly meet anyone else unless I put myself in there for a reason. That person asked me if I would appear in front of a camera and also demonstrate what I do, picking up people, being the chauffeur and driving them to their appointments. And so I recommended one of our true, real clients who said, anything for Inez, anything for Friends for Life. I'll be glad to. And we walked into a football game, and there was my client with me up on the Jumbotron as part of the advertisement of tonight is our charity champion, number 4, etc., Inez Russell. She's down on the field, and we're going to listen to her talk about what she does or what Friends for Life contributes. And it helps to see something happening. You get an idea of it. You see me bringing out the seat belt buckle, and so that my client can bring it around and walking alongside someone who uses a walker, and you think, oh, this is what it's about. It's just like what family would do as a volunteer if they could. In a lot of cases, there isn't family, there isn't, they're not close enough, they're gone, they feel less comfortable with some of the things that we do because we choose to, and it means that person is having a lot more interactions, which helps with both isolation because they are homebound, or with exploitation, with people who go, you know what, no one cares about them anymore. We can take advantage of them easily. And then these Friends for Life keep showing up every week, every month, whenever they're needed. This person isn't a target. They're a whole human being, and they are cared about, and they are known by name, and their likes and dislikes, they are entitled to their choices now, just as they were through their whole life. Okay, I will stop banging my gavel on how I feel about people being disregarded as people because they walk slower, or because their hair is whiter, or because they ask for help. So there you go.
So you met Inez at the business networking meeting, the BNI meeting in June. The two of you just connected because of what you've been doing. So you were a paid caregiver. You started this program, Aspects of Aging weekly talk show. And then we actually moved to Texas. And weeks later, the Nexstar affiliate, Fox 44, puts up on their screen, nominate this person. And then a lot of fun things happen. You end up on local television being asked about your involvement in the nomination. You actually read part of the nomination that you wrote. The crew from Hollywood came out, filmed you. That was on national television. They flew Inez back to be with these other nominees for the national award, which she didn't get the ultimate award, but she was a finalist with that. Which
5 out of 125.
So there was
5.
a donation from Nexstar Media to the charity of her choice, which, because it's also businesses, but I assume that Friends for Life was her charity of choice.
You're right.
My experience, though, because I've worked with a lot of nonprofit organizations over the years, and for the most part, people like Inez, who are founders, executive directors that are running these, don't do it because they're looking to be famous. They don't want to be on television, in the media, the focus of attention. It's the work that's being done. But there's benefit that happens when you get nominated, when you win the award or you're a finalist, but your involvement in these types of things. What's the good that's happened? Why should somebody nominate the Inez Russell in their lives?
Thank you. Foremost, number one, top of the list. How can we be of benefit to a person if they don't even know that we exist? This is a person who qualifies for free services financially. This is a person who has lived a good, full life and has to make the choice to ask for help. How do they know that this is just a matchmaking service? Finding caring people who say, yes, I'll go visit 2 people twice a month, wherever they are, whatever they are about. I will just do it. So it isn't, well, I should try to get these things done myself somehow. And it's a lesson that I've had to learn too, to ask for help so that people who are chomping at the bit, I think that's, I don't know. I don't know enough about horses, if that's a really good way to describe it. But people who have a need to fill needs in other people's lives, who have an energy